Five Pack, where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Back again for a fresh new week of setting you up each and every day with the 5 Pack right here on the Better Sports Network. Kyle Elfrink with you, and Kyle Elfrink alone. As always, at least on camera. Our producer, Heather Klein, is kind of the brains of the operation. But at least on camera, it's just me. And I bring that up because today is about being solo. Today, if you did not know, is a National Solitaire Day. Which for anybody who has ever touched a Microsoft or PC computer, you probably wasted a lot of hours, a lot of days, even weeks, even months on playing solitaire. So today is the day to maybe play it again for old time's sake. I did not know this, but check this out. Solitaire on Windows didn't show up until 1990. It was created as a part of the Windows operating system to get people used to using a mouse. Because way back in 1990, using a mouse was a little foreign to most of us. Nowadays, I guess it's still foreign to us because no one really uses a mouse. They all use the touchpad. I don't know. I'm sure those of you out there still use the mouse. But that's why it was thrown on Microsoft Word. It was not, hey, waste your time and, do work that isn't work. It was just to get people familiar with how to work a mouse. And here's another fact, and this gives hope as we graduate, as we move on from high school and college here in the middle of May. Here's hope for all of you that maybe have internships. Solitaire on Windows was developed and created by an intern. A guy named Wes Cherry created it, a Microsoft intern. We're still talking about it 30 some odd years later. But anyway, today's National Solitaire Day. So for all those who play it, for all those who maybe live a solitary life, today is your day. Going to be fun today. We've got 5 things to tell you that matter. We got 5 things to tell you that will matter. And we have a pack rip. Now today, we've got some baseball. 1988 score baseball. But the plan is for later this week, with the start of NFL OTAs, yes, off-season training get-togethers, whatever the hell it stands for, actions, I don't know. Off-season team activities, that's what it is. OTAs begin this week in the NFL. Pretty well every team, I think, has them this week. Some are actually starting today. Others get going tomorrow. Really nothing important happens in OTAs. Usually the only news we get out of OTAs is, hey, so-and-so is wanting a new contract, or so-and-so has a franchise tag on him and he's not wanting to risk it in OTAs. So that's kind of like the only news. You will also get the breathless reporting about how good a rookie looks. So plan for that over the next 5 days. But in honor of OTAs beginning, we here at the 5 Pack plan to open some football packs this week. I say plan because I'm waiting on the delivery man to show up with my packs. But today we'll do baseball. 1988 score. This is year number 1 of score baseball, a set that does not hold quite the prestige of 1989 Upper Deck. But this was like the precursor to like all the leaps that Upper Deck made in 89. Score kind of laid the land out, laid out the runway, if you will, for Upper Deck to take off in 1989. So we will open up that pack coming up in just a bit. But we begin, as always, with 5 things that do indeed matter as we get rolling on a Monday. We got a lot of things going on. It's a great time to be a sports fan, a great time to be alive. Have a television set, the internet, all that stuff. Throughout the day, you can watch, you can follow, you can keep track of things. But if you miss anything, we here right here at the 5 Pack, we take care of you. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get to the 5 things that do matter. And we start on the hardwood where it happened again. Holy moly, the Miami Heat in Game 3 beaten up on the Boston Celtics. Very easy victory last night for the Miami Heat, who were in front of the home fans. They are now up 3-0. Now, throughout the playoffs, this Cinderella run by the Heat has been authored by one Jimmy Butler. Butler was fine last night. What he had? 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, but he actually had his worst playoff game of this playoff run. So other guys had to step up. Early on, it was undrafted free agent Caleb Martin.
On the road, these two teams seem to thrive. Butler will corkscrew in, facing a wall. Martin with the three. Duncan Robinson has checked in late in the first quarter. Here is Butler with the ball. 2 points, slashing into the paint. Outside, Martin, three. He's on one. Undrafted player, fourth year, crossover Brown, hits the deck, loose ball. Lowry, Martin at the other end.
So there's Caleb Martin. First quarter belonged to him. He had 18 points in the game. Later, it was undrafted free agent Duncan Robinson.
To a different level. Turnover right there. Butler in, knocked it away. Numbers, the trailing Adebayo in the corner. Robinson, it's a three.
He stops here. It's just too easy. He's all the way to the rim.
Robinson, the undrafted sharpshooter from Michigan, puts it up and through, and now they rely on these undrafted players.
Would you like to have a third undrafted Heat player who did well last night? I would. Duncan Robinson had 22, but he was bettered by Gabe Vincent, who had 29 in the Game 3 win.
Inside for Smart, doubled hits. It's rebounded by Vincent on the fly, pull-up three. Boy, has he got the stroke tonight!
And Tatum and Brown are going to have to play like all NBA guys.
Vincent got free. Another three. Another hit. He's been a flamethrower.
He'd been a flamethrower. A lot of flamethrowing on the Celtics last night. Woo! It was ugly for Boston. I looked at the box score today, and I didn't watch from tip-off to final buzzer, but tuned into that game, and every time I tuned in, the TNT crew who provided us with the highlights there, they were talking on and on about, wow, look at all these guys who were undrafted. You just saw them, Vincent, Robinson, and Martin. These guys were undrafted free agents, tearing it up for the Heat last night. On the other side, I don't recall a single moment that really looked good for the Celtics. And then I looked at the box score today. They didn't have a player with even 15 points. 15 points. Now, each of those other three guys, Martin, Robinson, and Vincent, they had 18 or more. Not a single Celtics player with even 15 points. They look dead. And I don't know, comparing it to, what was it, Game 5 in that second round series against Philadelphia. Remember when the Sixers went to Boston and just beat up on Boston? And after the game, everybody said, oh my God, where's the energy? This team is dead. Jason Tatum, you suck. That was bad in Game 5 in the previous series. Last night might have been worse for Boston. They were never really in that game. That was a blowout, easy victory. Now, Game 4 is Tuesday night, going to be on TNT. 8:30 is the tip-off. Right now, somehow, some way, Miami's only favored by 2 in this game. They are minus 130 to pull off the sweep. If you'd rather say, hey, maybe the sweep doesn't happen on Tuesday night, maybe Miami just goes back to Boston and rubs the Celtics fans' nose in it, because that's the way you want to do it, right? If you think Miami's going to finish it off in 5, you can get that at plus 450. So, again, the sweep is minus 130, plus 450 for the Heat to finish it off in 5. Big win for them tonight, and cruising right now to the NBA Finals. David Aldridge of The Athletic, longtime NBA writer and columnist, had a great tweet. I think it was either this morning or last night. If Miami advances to the NBA Finals, of course, Pat Riley is still, team president or what have you. Pat Riley, as a player, coach, and GM or team executive, if the Heat make the finals, and again, they're up 3-0 to make it, Pat Riley will have then had a hand in player, coach, team executive in almost 25% of all of the NBA Finals ever. Pretty impressive. We think of Michael Jordan as the greatest champ, or Bill Russell. Pat Riley maybe has an argument there. It's different when you're doing it in a suit and tie versus when you're doing it in a jersey, but still a rather remarkable number there. Let's go to our second sports item that matters on this Monday. We don't get to do this very often, but hey, we should do this for Brooks Koepka. He is your champion in the PGA Championship yesterday, taking care of business in Oak Hill weekend, Thursday through Sunday. Wasn't a lot of drama at the end. He ended up winning by 2 strokes. Here's the final call by the one and only Jim Nantz on CBS.
He's all the way back. Koepka conquers the PGA at Oak Hill.
Brooks Koepka with the moment on Sunday. He is one of now 20 golfers in the history of the sport to have 5 or more majors. That was his 5th, obviously, yesterday. Still a lot of time for Brooks Koepka to maybe win more majors, except for this fact. Oh, yes, there is a white elephant in the room. The LIV tournament. If you watched the PGA Championship at all this weekend, you probably picked up on the fact that there were a lot of LIV golfers. For those who don't follow the sport, what is LIV? LIV is like the renegade golf organization. They stole a lot of guys like Brooks Koepka. I think there were 18 LIV golfers in this PGA Championship. They got a lot of like Middle Eastern money, a lot of Saudi money that is backing the LIV tournament. Play a lot of events here in the States, over in Europe, all that stuff. It is very early in the LIV lifespan, if you will. They're just about a year old or so. And it's been a big controversy. You know, the PGA, the guys who stuck around versus the LIV guys. In effect, the LIV guys said, man, I'm taking the money. There is a lot of money in that LIV organization and association. So they took the money. Koepka was one of them. Now, to me, I am no golf aficionado, but to me, it's like, why are these guys allowed to be in the PGA Championship? They mostly turned their back on the entire PGA and said, "Screw you! I'm going where the money is." They're hired guns. They're mercenaries. That's all they are. Yet for at least this first year, the PGA has opened their doors to the likes of Koepka. He finished second at the Masters. Obviously, he wins the PGA Championship. I guess he'll be at the U.S. Open coming up in L.A. Here in about 4 weeks or so, 3 weeks, I think it is. To me, it's a head scratcher. Now, I get it. This may only last for a year, but here's the risky one. The LIV golf organization and players group, nobody really cares. Right now, it is a money-losing proposition for all that money that is backing the LIV. Their TV ratings are junk. They just are. It's not to say the golf isn't good. It is. They have great golfers. The problem is it doesn't have near the juice of the PGA. The only way LIV really survives, because eventually, you lose so much money you can't keep it going. And who knows if it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whenever, but maybe these guys come back. The only way you really survive if you're LIV is if you can keep your guys in front of all the eyeballs that watch the majors. And right now, the PGA is allowing that. Now, to me, it makes no sense. Why would the PGA give oxygen to LIV by having these? And I get it. In the first year, maybe it's tough to say no to Phil Mickelson and to Brooks Koepka. You might have to change that in year number 2. Because, again, nobody cares about LIV. But now they may care just a teensy wins more because of Brooks Koepka winning. He just won your PGA Championship, and now if you tune in next week to the PGA, you're not going to see Brooks Koepka. It's going to be on the LIV tour. So I don't know. It's a head scratcher to me, and I would suspect that'll change. Now I mentioned Koepka because of how they're allowing these guys to play. You can get odds on him to finish top 10 in all 4 majors. He was second in the Masters. He wins the PGA Championship. U.S. Opens in L.A. That's June 15th through the 18th. Koepka to finish top 10. There's 2 more majors left. You got the U.S. Open, you got the Open, the British Open, plus 275 right now to finish top 10 in all 4 majors. That is not the highest odds. The best odds belong to Scotty Scheffler, who finished second yesterday. Scotty Scheffler is plus 165. He is a member of the PGA. Victor Hovland is plus 400. Those are the only 3 guys that you can get odds on right now. They've all 3 finished in the top 10 of the Masters, top 10 of the PGA Championship. Biggest story of the weekend, maybe not Koepka, a guy by the name of Michael Block. Michael Block had a hole-in-one yesterday. Michael Block is a club pro. And now, because of a 15th place finish in the PGA Championship, he's a lock for next year. He was such a story this weekend that he's now going to get a whole lot of sponsor exemptions to future tournaments. He's just a club pro. Like, every course has one. They don't usually travel in the PGA. They kind of try to get into events when they can. They're very good golfers. They're just not professional PGA Tour members. Well, Michael Block was playing with Rory McIlroy yesterday, and like I said, I think it was on hole 15, hit a hole-in-one. And that was probably the biggest story of the weekend outside of a live golfer winning a PGA event. Let's go to item number 3. We head to Las Vegas for something that matters. It's some NHL playoff hockey. It was game 2 last night with the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Dallas Stars. And in this game, the Knights were trailing. Oh, the Knights were trailing. In fact, under 3 minutes to go, down 2-1. They met the pressure. They succeeded. Here's how they did it to force OT.
By Pavelski to force back Jack Eichel. Eichel sends it in from center. Ottinger played it. Suter with Eichel in fast. Barbashev for Eichel behind the net. Centers one, and they score! Jonathan Marchessault off a beautiful feed by Eichel.
Big goal there with about 2.5 minutes to go. So that made it 2-2. They went to OT. Now, if you followed OT, we learned this last week. It can go on and on and on. What did we have? 4 OTs between the Hurricanes and the Panthers late last week. It can go on. It can be long. But the Sunday was short in Vegas because a very quick OT winner for the Golden Knights.
Ben was bumped for a moment by Theodore. And it's locked it out by Lindell. Johnston couldn't knock it out of the air. Played ahead by McNabb. Stone across the line. Has Theodore. Theodore shot. Rebound goal! Vegas wins in overtime.
What was that, a minute 12 into OT? Sean McDonough, who was on the call there for ESPN, I don't even think he got to warm up his pipes, although he probably was quite happy. He didn't have to tear up those pipes in the OT matchup. Big win for the Knights. They are now up 2-0 on the Dallas Stars. Now, if I'm a Stars backer here, I'm not hugely worried. And I say that because both games were very close. Stars played a lot better in game 2 yesterday than they did in game 1. Obviously, they go back home. They've been in both these games. So Dallas still has a chance, despite the fact that you were down 2-0. Game 3 is set to be tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Right now, it is a coin toss as to who's going to win that game 3. Dallas minus 105 and Vegas a slight favorite at minus 115 for that game tomorrow. We got some more hockey coming up, but let's move to item number 4. Okay, we got a PGA Championship. We've got the Heat trying to win a championship. We got the Knights trying to win a championship. Let's tell you about a team who has won a championship. In fact, for the 3rd straight season, Manchester City is your English Premier League title winner. Yes, Man City taking care of business yesterday, a 1-0 victory over Chelsea. I realize a lot of you maybe are not into it when it comes to soccer. Let me just say, winning 3 straight EPL titles makes you an all-time great. And speaking of all-time greats, this team, Man City, has 2 all-time greats. Erling Haaland, who is on the pitch. Erling Haaland, who set a single-season EPL record with 36 goals this year. He is a star on the field. They got a lot of stars on the field, but he's the big goal-scoring one. And then off the field, it is their head coach, Pep Guardiola. Let's take a look at both guys celebrating the victory and the title on Sunday.
Hopefully, we'll get Pep Guardiola as well as Erling Haaland celebrates with the fans.
Here he is, the obsessive genius, the restless schemer, the unrelenting perfectionist. His 11th national title in 14 working seasons as a groundbreaking coach. 3 times a champion of Spain, 3 times a champion of Germany, and now 5 times a champion of the English Premier League. Pep Guardiola, without parallel in the modern age.
Now, let me talk a bit about Pep Guardiola. What you saw there is somebody who is the Bill Belichick of his sport. In fact, if you heard that number, I'll repeat it again. He has been a head coach of a domestic club team 14 seasons. 14 seasons head coach, and they mentioned it there in Spain, in Germany, and now in England. 11 titles. 3 times in Spain, 3 times in Germany, 5 in England. Might be the best soccer manager ever. And I know, hey, it's overseas, nobody cares, but that doesn't happen. And he ain't an old guy. He's still got, I mean, if he wants it, he's got another 10 to 15 years to go. Erling Haaland, saw him at the beginning there. What is he, 22? He just got to Man City. And I noted he already set the record, 36 goals this season, all-time record in English Premier League history. The previous record was 34. What's also telling is if you look at the goal scorers, Haaland's at the top. He's got 36. Number 2 is Harry Kane of Tottenham. Harry Kane's been a long-time goal scorer, 28 goals. There are only 2 other guys that even got to half of what Erling Haaland got to. So again, Haaland has 36. There are 3 other dudes between 35 and 17. That's it. He killed it this season. And Man City's not done. It is one of the true great hallmarks of a club team in Europe is to win not only your domestic league, which you just saw Man City did that, but we'll see if Man City can win the FA Cup, which is a national tournament in England. They'll be up against Man U on June 3rd. Then they could complete the treble. What is the treble? That's 3 titles. So you got the EPL, you could win the FA Cup. The treble would be on June 10th, the Champions League, which is the best club in all of Europe. So clubs from Spain, clubs from Italy, Germany, England, all over Europe. The final for that, June 10th, might be the biggest soccer game every year on the schedule, probably is. Man City is going to be up against Inter Milan for that game. So leg 1 of 3 is taken care of, and in the next few weeks, we'll see if Man City can pull off the remarkable 3 championship season for the citizens of Manchester. Finally, what matters? Number 5. Shall we give you a little baseball? Yeah, we should give you a little baseball. And hey, we could sit here and, you know, I could talk about the Rays again, or I could talk about Baltimore getting a big sweep. I could tell you about the Braves still playing some great. I won't bore you with that. Instead, I'm going to talk about the Chicago Cubs and Christopher Morel. Why are we talking about Christopher Morel? Because Christopher Morel It's kind of turning into Aaron Judge.
In the air to right, back is Castellanos. That ball is going to be gone. Opposite field, home run, Christopher Morel. The game is not over yet. His 8th of the year in only his 11th game. And now the Cubs are down by 1.
It's just incredible what he is doing. Otherworldly.
It's incredible. I don't know about otherworldly. It's incredible, though. Christopher Morel with the Home Run Marquee Network with the call there. What is he doing? Well, Christopher Morel was called up from AAA about 2 weeks ago. In 11 games, his only 11 games of this season, Christopher Morel has 8 home runs. Now, the Cubs have been playing baseball, or as some might say, trying to play baseball, for over 120 years. Christopher Morel is the first Cubs player ever to hit 8 home runs in his first 11 games. Now, I mentioned he was called up from AAA. You want to talk about a guy who's locked in. Okay, 8 home runs, 11 games. Okay, we all know it can't keep up. But he's actually been like crazy hot for like 7 weeks now. Because before getting called up, Christopher Morel had 11 home runs in 27 AAA games. So what we've got is 19 home runs overall in 38 games. It's a home run every other game. I don't even know. Maybe some of you out there in internet land can look it up. I don't even know if Aaron Judge had a run last season. I would say no, where he hit 19 home runs in 38 games, or where he hit 20 in 40 games. That's what Christopher Morel's doing right now. So pretty remarkable. For the season, his OPS is over 1,300. He is hitting, 370. Now, you might be saying, well, who the hell is Christopher Morel? He's not a rookie. Because last season, he had about 430, 440 plate appearances. And he did pretty good in those plate appearances. He had 16 home runs. Drove in almost 50. He scored 55 runs. He could steal a base. He had 10 stolen bases. So he was decent. I mean, as a rookie last year, pretty good player. Started the year at AAA and has been called up and has not stopped hitting. So great stuff going on there. Cubs are off today, so we won't have to worry about Game 12 for Christopher Morel, but they do open a home set tomorrow night, taking on the New York Mets. Those are the 5 things that do matter today on the 5-pack. When we return, we're going to get you set for your Monday night in the sports world. 5 things that will matter. Before any of that, though, let's talk to Ricky Props. Let's hear what he's thinking as the NBA playoffs continue later tonight in Los Angeles.
Hey, it's Rick Campbell for Better Sports Network. Will the Lakers keep their season alive tonight? No, they will not. The Lakers should not be favored to win this game. They're -3. I will happily take the +3 with the Denver Nuggets. This series is over, guys. LeBron has a history of letting go of the rope in series that look hopeless. Anthony Davis now has an excuse for a low-motor game. D'Angelo Russell is lost at sea. The Lakers can't make a 3, 9 per game on 33% in this series, and they're getting smoked on the boards, -20. Denver is shredding the Lakers defense, 120 points per game on 50% from the field and 41% from 3. The Nugs have 5 players averaging at least 14 points per game, led by Murray at 35 and Jokic at 27. Denver is clearly the better team, folks, and they will prove it again tonight. Get out the brooms at Crypto. The Nuggets are going to their first NBA Finals, and the Lakers season is over. Be sure to check out the comments below for a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Welcome back to the 5-pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Welcome you back in on this Monday to the Better Sports Network. Want to remind you, coming up today, let me make sure I got this right because it's day 1 of a brand new show here at BSN, 4 o'clock Eastern. Our buddy Dan Servadidio, known Dan for many years. He's going to hit you with the debut of Better Sports Betting at 4 o'clock Eastern today, so make sure to check that out. You can get all the latest news, betting lines, picks for baseball, hoops, and hockey. We got all that coming on. Call in, post your questions. Dan's going to take care of it later today. Coming your way, at 4 o'clock Eastern. Until then, let's get to 5 things that will matter for today. And I'm sure that Dan's going to be talking about the same thing that Ricky Props was just talking about, the same thing that I'm going to be talking about right now. It is Game 4 tonight in the NBA Western Conference Finals between the Denver Nuggets and the LA Lakers. You just heard Rick Kamla talking about it. It kind of set the table well. This has been all Nuggets thus far. Nikola Jokic's been good, but not great. Jamal Murray has been very good. These two guys carrying the water for the Denver Nuggets. Although I will note, a lot of other guys are stepping up, like Bruce Brown has looked really good in these first 3 games. We get set for Game 4 tonight. LeBron James, coming off the Saturday night loss in Game 3, talked about kind of the difference through the first 3 games when you look at the Nuggets winning all 3 and, of course, the Lakers losing all 3.
Jamal was fantastic in the first half today. He got him off to a great start, and even with that, we were only down 3 at the half. I think it's been the timely shots by their role players. Obviously, I think the KCP, the Michael Porter Jr.'s, the Bruce Browns, even Jeff, hit a big-time timely shot today, when we were kind of going on a run. So I think it's been their supporting cast have kind of made those timely shots that's, allow them to kind of have the edge.
Without saying it, LeBron's answer speaks volumes. Oh, yeah, they're supporting cast. Those guys are stepping up, hitting big shots. You didn't have to say anything, but the message was loud and clear. Where's my supporting cast? LeBron said. LeBron's playing fine. Anthony Davis has been pretty good. They're not great, but they're playing fine. Outside of Austin Reeves, LA really hasn't gotten anybody else going over the entirety of these 3 games. Denver has. I will note Los Angeles is down 3-0. 110 times in conference finals history, 110 times, a team has been down 3 games to none. 3-0. How many times do you think that team down 0-3 has come back? 110 times. 0. 0 for 110. It's never happened. You think if LeBron were to do it, not that I would expect this, but if LeBron were to become the first player to ever lead his team back from a 3-0 deficit in the conference finals, do you think people would still complain about him? I think they would. Yeah. They'd still find something else he hasn't done. I have never seen LeBron walk on water. How do I know you're any good? You can't even walk on water. So I don't think it's going to matter for LeBron's legacy. I should note tonight, game is at 8:30. ESPN will have the coverage. Lakers are favored by 3.5. Now they're favored by 3.5. Denver is plus 135 to pull off the sweep. So if you think it's donezo, you think it's all Nuggets tonight, got some pretty good odds there. Plus 135 to take the Nuggets to win it tonight. Now, if you really are filling your oats when it comes to wagering, Lakers are plus 1,200 to come back. Do you believe in LeBron? Prove it. Plus 1,200 there to come back and win 4 straight. Let's move to our second item that will matter. We go from one playoff to another playoff. We've talked a lot about the Miami Heat. We talked about them earlier today. They are a South Florida Cinderella story. Everybody's fired up about the Miami Heat. They're 1 win away from the NBA Finals. What about the other Cinderella, though, down in South Florida? What about the Florida Panthers, huh? They came in as an 8 seed. I will say this. The road that the Panthers have traveled in these playoffs, probably more difficult than the road that the Heat have. I mean, Florida, led by Matthew Tkachuk, had to beat Boston in round 1. Boston had the best regular season, at least in terms of points, ever. They beat the Bruins. They then take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. They did not have home ice advantage. They toppled the Maple Leafs. Now in this third series, they get Carolina. They've won the first 2 games on the road in Raleigh, North Carolina, in overtime. Huge wins for the Florida Panthers. So tonight, they are back home in South Florida. It's not Miami. It's Sunrise. Sunrise, Florida is where the Panthers play. And Matthew Tkachuk expects the arena to be rocking later tonight.
Back to like our run to get in, like it was just continuously getting better and better. And the first round against Boston was awesome. Against Toronto, it was even better. And I'm sure it's going to be something that I haven't seen yet. On Monday, I can't wait to see the atmosphere. I can't wait to play in it. I mean, this atmosphere is unreal too. And I think. I mean, I'm sure people in like the outside world, maybe outside the hockey world, maybe don't know a ton about like our two, teams or fan base or whatever. But it's I said it earlier in the series, but it's two of the loudest buildings in the league when it gets going. So I can't wait. It's been so fun to play in it all year, and yeah, like I said, I'm sure it's going to be the loudest on Monday.
8 o'clock is the start tonight down in Florida. Matthew Tkachuk there speaking to the noise. He helped to silence that rabid fan base in Carolina in each of the previous two games. So I'll look to do it again. By the way, Conn Smythe, which is the MVP of the playoffs. Right now, Tkachuk and his fellow teammate, the goaltender, Sergei Bobrovsky, those two guys are neck and neck for the Conn Smythe trophy, plus 425. For those two players. So still getting pretty good odds. And obviously you got to make the Stanley Cup Finals. You don't necessarily have to win. You don't always have to be on the winning team to get the MVP, but both those guys looking pretty good, plus 425. I think Jack Eichel of the Vegas Knights, he is number 3 on that board. As for tonight, it is pretty well a coin toss. Carolina minus 105, Florida minus 115. The series money line, though, Florida to win the series, best of 7 minus 425 for the Panthers, plus 330 for Carolina. Carolina was the favorite, by the way, entering this series. Let's go to item number 3 of what will matter tonight. We got a big showdown starting up in Atlanta this evening. The LA Dodgers visiting the Atlanta Braves. First of 3 this evening. These are the top 2 teams in the National League meeting up. Dodgers 29-19. Atlanta is 29-17. If you were to go over to DraftKings right now and check out the odds to win the NL pennant, these two teams are 1-2. Currently, Atlanta is plus 200. Currently, the Dodgers are at plus 250. Now, this Dodgers team comes to Atlanta kind of scuffling a bit, at least in terms of the Dodgers. They just lost 3 of 4 to St. Louis. They have lost 5 of their last 7. Before that run, 2-5, they were 8-1. And they've got issues. Dare I say they've got issues. Julio Urias is now on the IL. Dustin May, now on the IL. Last 2 starts for Clayton Kershaw have not been good. Walker Buehler on the IL. They got pitching problems. The Dodgers have pitching. Offense is fine, but now the pitching's an issue. Now, again, they're, 10 games over 500. They can scuffle for a while and probably be fine. But it's worth noting, tonight, they have recalled Gavin Stone. He's going to be pitching for the Dodgers. Who's he up against? Charlie Morton for the 7/21 pitch tonight. Tomorrow, Billy Miller, who probably is their top pitching prospect. If you're in a fantasy baseball league, I'm sure with your weekly bidding last night, somebody in your league probably blew their budget on Bobby Miller. He is set to pitch tomorrow against Spencer Strider. So they are getting a bit desperate. They are going to have to call up the young guys. We'll see how they perform. Stone tonight, Miller tomorrow. On Wednesday, Tony Gonsolin will be pitching. All 3 of these games, by the way, have a 7/21 pitch. So if you're looking for some good baseball tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, Braves and Dodgers from Atlanta coming your way. Let's go to our 4th item that will matter a bit later tonight following that Braves-Dodgers game 1. We'll have Seattle and Oakland. Now, I'll tell you this. Item number 4 and item number 5 both come from this game between the A's and the Mariners. Let's start on the Seattle side. Let's pay attention tonight to Julio Rodriguez. If Julio Rodriguez, the reigning AL Rookie of the Year, and a guy who is ticketed for superstardom, if Julio Rodriguez were to go 0 for 4 tonight, he will have hit the Mendoza line. What is the Mendoza line? Well, it's named after the legendary Mario Mendoza. who actually was a former Mariner, who seemingly every year seemed to be right around a 200 batting average. Well, guess what? If Julio Rodriguez goes 0 for 4 tonight, he's going to be Julio Mendoza. He's going to be hitting 200. And check this. I mean, this stuff's just crazy. Julio Rodriguez, who's a stud, and I don't think anybody's hugely worried. Like, you know, you kind of dig into things. The hard hit percentage is slightly down. His strikeouts are slightly up. There's nothing like crazy alarming here. It's just not happening. I guess what's alarming, and I saw this number, a Seattle beat writer had this. I apologize, but it was maybe yesterday. Saw this number courtesy of Seattle beat writer, maybe with The Athletic. Julio Rodriguez this year on fastballs is hitting 202. Last season, he hit 317. Now, if you were 36 years old and you had that kind of fall, like from 317 to 202, you'd say, you're old. You lost it. Can't say that with Julio Rodriguez, a dude 22, 23 years old. But he ain't hit the fastball this year. His last month, listen to this. This is April 22nd to today, May 22nd. He's hitting 151. Now, he's been okay with some of the counting numbers. Like, you've gotten 3 homers, 9 ribbies, 12 runs, and 3 steals. Like, that's okay. That's not Julio Rodriguez, but he hasn't murdered. 151? He's no longer leading off for Seattle. So kind of crazy times there. He's up against Kyle Mueller tonight of the A's. That's good news. Kyle Mueller has an ERA over 7. So maybe a Julio Rodriguez who's back home tonight. Mariners are just coming off their longest road trip of the season, by the way. We'll see if they can get going tonight. 9:40 for the first pitch. That does lead us to our 5th item that will matter. On the other side of that game is the Oakland A's. Folks, tune in. Tune in. If you want to see bad baseball, tune in to the Oakland A's. Right now, they are 10-38. The A's have a winning percentage, which I want to chuckle to even call it a winning percentage. 0.208. If they were to finish the season with a 0.28 winning percentage this year, they'd have 34 wins. Now, I will tell you, that's not the worst ever. The worst ever. You got to go back to 1899. Cleveland Spiders, they won 20 games, which I did not know this, but the Cleveland Spiders in 1899 ended their year on a 1-40 stretch. 1 win in their final 41 games. So they went 20 and 134. The 1899 Spiders. I don't think Oakland's going to be that bad, but they are bad. There is one shining light, and this is what I want to get to. It's Astory Ruiz. Astory Ruiz, and we've mentioned him before here on the show. Let's do a quick check-in on Astory Ruiz. Astory Ruiz, there you see him running to second base. The dude has 24 steals this season. We are not even a third of the way through the baseball season, which means Astory Ruiz has a decent shot of over 70 stolen bases. Think about that, over 70. Now, we've talked a lot about, the stolen bases back, on and on and on. Astory Ruiz is the poster child for this. Now, we should note, Astory Ruiz wasn't in the majors last year or the year before. He's a rookie. But he's playing every day, and the dude is not only stealing, the dude's playing good baseball. Like the fact that we're sitting here, and Astory Ruiz is hitting 280, 286, in fact. His on-base percentage is like 375, 380. The dude, by the way, has been hit by a pitch 10 times this year. But he is getting on base, and he is thieving. Last 3 games, he's got a stolen base. What is it? 5 of his last 7, he's got a stolen base. Like, Astory Ruiz, you might recall the name Billy Hamilton. This is everything the Billy Hamilton truthers promised us. It's actually happening with Astory Ruiz. And, everybody knew this, coming into the year. If he could get on base, he's going to steal. Look at his minor league track record. Steal. That's all he did. So he's doing it. He's living up to expectations. People got him late in fantasy drafts. Stolen base after stolen base after stolen base. Tonight, he will be taking his leads, as long as he can get on base, against Luis Castillo. Mariners right-hander has only allowed 3 stolen bases this year on 4 attempts. So we'll see if Ruiz can make it 4 consecutive games with stolen bases, which is not something we normally see. Not in baseball. Not at all. 24, by the way. So if he gets 1 tonight, 25. Again, now we're talking 75 steals. He's running away. with this stolen base title. Yes, I can even give you things to follow between the Mariners and the A's here on the 5-pack. That is how we do it. Another thing we do here on the 5-pack is we open up a pack. When we come back, 88 Score Baseball. We will finish off our trip around the sports world by taking a trip back to 1988. That's next here on the Better Sports Network.
Big shout out to NBA legend Carmelo Anthony earlier this week via his social media. Melo announced that he was retiring from the NBA after 19 seasons, and what a fantastic 19 seasons in the NBA it was. Melo was a 10-time NBA All-Star. He made 6 All-NBA teams, 3 gold medals, 1 scoring championship, and is a member of the 75th anniversary team. Now, when he joined the New York Knicks, he was not able to lead them to the championship waters, but nobody ever has. But Melo is still beloved in Madison Square Garden, and who can forget his time at the University of Syracuse, taking them to a national championship with a smile lighting up the screen on every single basket made. Now, Carmelo Anthony did have some rough times in the NBA when he was younger. So I say to you, as Melo said in his video, he's passing his legacy on to his son, Kyan Anthony. But if you remember when Carmelo Anthony first got into the league, he had some issues. Those issues were later rectified, and he goes down in history as a legend. So have the same grace with some of today's young athletes. So shout out to Carmelo Anthony. You stay mellow, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your son on the basketball court soon. Now, be sure to check out the comments below from a special offer from our friends at Fantasy Alarm.
Time now for the Daily Pack Rip on the 5-pack with Kyle Elfrink.
A big shout out to DJ Heather Clyde there. Slater Kitty, welcome us back here on the 5-pack. I will say, we play the coolest music of any show right here on the 5-pack. We welcome you back in. Kyle Elfrink alongside you. Got about 10 minutes left in the show, and you know what that means. It is time to open up our Daily Pack Rip. Today we are spotlighting 1988 Score Baseball. We also get a trivia card in here. I'll put myself on the spot coming up in mere moments. 1988, the first year for Score Baseball, which a lot of people get. And I get it. Upper Deck was, the Ken Griffey Jr. card, the glossy cards, the better card stock, the hologram, all that stuff. I get it with Upper Deck. But Score is forgotten, and it should not be forgotten. Good photos here, a ton of color. Fleer, Dunross, Tops. It kind of got lazy by the time 1988 came around, and Score woke them up, and then Upper Deck came through and kicked the door down. So let's get rolling with our multicolored Score baseball cards. As noted, we get great moments in baseball. Look at that. Do you remember Yankee Stadium, October 8th, 1956? That would be Don Larson, right? Don Larson, perfect game? Yes, it is. See, there are a few things I know. I'm not a total idiot. Don Larson's perfect game. Yogi Berra, of course, was the catcher. Now, I would love to sit here and read you this, but my God, that is small. As we've learned before, Kyle's eyesight is going the way of the dodo. At some point here, it'll probably help the show because I won't be able to see anything. So who knows? But there we go. Don Larson, what is it? October 8th, 1956. Let's see here. The only perfect game in World Series history. There have been no hitters, but this is the only perfect game way back in 1956. Okay, let's get to these cards that I mentioned. Rainbow. It's like a pack of Skittles here, right? Look at that. All these cards. Let's see what we got here. By the way, big card set, big pack, I should say. 17 player cards. That was another thing that the old fogies didn't do. Tops and Fleer and Dunross, they weren't doing 17 cards. We start with a purple Dave Magadan. Here you see Dave Magadan, third base. Now, Magadan came up as a first baseman, but the Mets moving him to third base, at least in this season. Howard Johnson kind of became... Hojo was the third base, but he also played some left field. They traded Mitchell. I think Hojo probably played more third base than left field, at least in 87. Hojo in 87, that was his 30 year. So Magadan was definitely the backup for the New York Mets. Decent player. Probably came up with more hype. I mean, golly, in AAA, he was fourth in batting average. second in walks, second in hits, second in doubles. So he was a good minor league player, decent major league player, I would say. Man, this guy, we can't get away from this next player. Like, I ain't kidding. Every time we open a pack between like 88 and 92, which is a lot here on the show, we get this dude. And he's back. Glenn Braggs. Why has the 5-pack become the official show of reminding you about Glenn Braggs? We're going to have to get Glenn on the show because every time I open a pack, he's on here. 87, he played 132 games. He hit 270 as a rookie. 13 homers, 77 ribbies. Again, I've said this once, I'll say it again. 87, the year that this 88 set is kind of recapping. The 87 year was a juice ball year. So you see some weird numbers if you look at those 1987 stats. Love this guy. Ooh, we got a big one coming up. I just saw the next card. But before we get to that, Charlie Leibrandt, and check it out, how he cocks that baseball behind him. Kind of the old Rick Sutcliffe way of pitching. Sutcliffe did it from the right side. Charlie Leibrandt obviously doing it from the left side. Sutcliffe was a lot more successful than Charlie Leibrandt too, but both these guys kind of cuffed the ball when they were throwing before they brought it across. Leibrandt here, I say, oh, Sutcliffe was more successful. I mean, I always reference these innings pitched: 237, 231, and 240. 3 straight years where Charlie Leibrandt threw like 710 innings. Wild. Charlie Leibrandt's teammate is next. It's one of the, like back in 88, if you got this card, you were telling the neighborhood about it. Ah, yes. Bo Jackson, whose rookie season was 86 when he only played 25 games. This year, 87, was the first full year of the great Bo Jackson. Of course, Bo at this point was playing for the Los Angeles Raiders, Oakland Raiders. I can't remember where they were back in 88, 87. But Bo Jackson, man, if it wasn't Ken Griffey Jr., it was Bo Jackson. This was the card you wanted. Now, this will not be a PSA 10, not because of any nicks or knacks or anything, but you can kind of see, you may be able to tell this on the camera, but the bordering, that blue border, it's a little wider on this side than it is on this side. So it's not a perfect cut. In that 116 game season in 87, man, 22 home runs. That's big time numbers for 117 games. It really is rookie year. He only hit 235, 10 stolen bases, 46 runs, 53 ribbies. He only played, I mean, there's all sorts, like you could tell, even the writers love, putting in as much as they could on Bo Jackson. Like, look at the write-up on Bo, and here it is on Charlie Leibrandt. Both pretty extensive. Like, reading the back of these scorecards was like a school assignment that you loved. Like, you'd love this. Bo Jackson, card 180 of 660s. I'm telling you, these cards, every time I look at these scorecards, I love them. Just love them. The color, the action photos, the backs are great. If you were a information nerd, this was your internet back in the day. Look at the back of these baseball cards. Mike Krukow, still a part of the San Francisco Giants broadcast team, the very popular broadcast team. Kind of interesting. You won't see this again, kids. Look at the back photo. Mike Krukow, a pitcher with a batting helmet on. They don't have to do that anymore. Here is the not lesser known. It's always tough when your brother is a superstar and you are not, but that is the life for Billy Ripken, who around these times, 1987, 88, 89, Billy Ripken was the sought-after Fleer card. Might remember at the bottom of his baseball bat, Billy was standing there pregame and had an expletive at the bottom of his baseball bat on the handle. Decent player, but again, no legend like his brother. He also took a day off. Can you believe that? Here is Randy Bush of the Minnesota Twins. Kind of just a journeyman outfielder. Never really got a chance to start. George Hendricks. Now, if you're a St. Louis kid like myself, you can't say the name George Hendrick without saying Silent George Hendrick. That was the nickname. George let his bat do the talking. And by this point in 88, you can kind of tell there, George was a vet. He started his career in 71 with the A's. went to the Indians in 73, the Padres in 77, the Cardinals in 78, and the Angels in 85. And he was a part of that 82 World Series team with the St. Louis Cardinals. So George Hendricks there, first baseman. Jose Nunez, don't know much about him, except he's got the baby blues, the ever-popular baby blues. Isn't that crazy how everybody loves the baby blues now? Back then they didn't. They kind of thought they were ridiculous. One of the best closers and starters in all of baseball, Dave Righetti. He kind of laid the groundwork, if you will, for a guy like Dennis Eckersley. Eckersley, a great starter, became an all-time reliever. Righetti, a very good starter, had a no-hitter with the Yankees, then became a very good reliever. At this point, let's see, an 84, 31 saves, an 85, 29 saves. He had 46 saves in 86 and 31 saves in 1987. So he was kind of your Rolaids fireman back at this point. Mike Birkbeck. I would love to tell. Well, I'd love to tell you I know anything about Mike Birkbeck. I should probably just read up. I mean, Score. Look at that. Score worked hard. I mean, they're knocking out 2 paragraphs on Mike Birkbeck, who at the time of this writing had thrown a grand total of 67 major league innings. Now we get to this is kind of the interesting part of Score. Yellow and gold. Like, these are not the same colors, all these cards. We have green, we have red, we have purple, we have blue, and I guess yellow and gold. We'll start with Manny Trio. Manny Trio, he's kind of like George Hendricks. He's a lifer at this point. Started in 74 with the A's, went to the Cubs, went to the Phillies, went to the Indians, went to the Expos, went to the Giants, and then back with the Cubs. Cubs loved him so much they brought him back. Paul Kilgus. The only notable thing here about Paul Kilgus is it looks like he's not even trying. Like, how hard do you think he's going to throw this pitch? 72? And the other part is he's at the old Texas Rangers Stadium, which was a converted minor league stadium. Scott Sanderson of the Cubs. My God, we're going to get the entire Cubs pitching staff here, I think, because we're going to follow that up with another Cub. Jamie Moyer. Now, think about this, dear viewer. At this point, Jamie Moyer in 1988 was only 26 years old. He was born in, November of 62. A reminder to everybody that Jamie Moyer pitched until he was like 46. But here he was at 26. Like, Jamie Moyer's future was bright. Not that it ever became dark, but just became a long, winding road. Came up around the same time as Maddox did with the Chicago Cubs. Here's a follow-through. Lee Tunnell. Guy's going to scrape his knuckles on the dirt. Really a follow-through there for the Cardinals. Lee Tunnell, relief pitcher. I barely recall him. I don't recall him, in fact. A Cardinal I don't recall. And the 17th and final card in our set, Rick Manning. Who, I look at this photo of Rick Manning, and you know what I can think of? All I can think of is it Jake Taylor from the movie Major League, catcher for the Indians in that movie. For those who are, familiar with Major League, which should be most of us, Rick Manning kind of has the Jake Taylor catcher for the Indians in Major League look. Like, they're dressed exactly the same. The helmet without the ear flaps, sweatbands, batting gloves, good stuff. That does it for our 88 score. That does it for the 5-pack. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern here on BSN.